started hating me. I'm like, but I thought you were black. I'm like, I am black, but I'm from the Caribbean. We have had black prime ministers who have done us in. So the issue is having a person who has the right politics, not just the black color. Anyway, so the project I was working on was this notion that racial domination perhaps is more effective when it becomes grammatical. Think about grammar. Yeah? You learn grammar in schools, but in truth, you acquire grammar through social interaction. It becomes sort of, that's the way it is. So I claim that there is a racial grammatical field where we don't even contest. And therefore, in the US context, you may go to a black college, and we call them in the US historically black college. We have a term, HBCU, historically black college and university. 95% of the colleges in the US are white. We don't call them HWCUs, historically white colleges. Or we have movies, and in the US, whenever there's a movie with 3-4 blacks, it's called a black movie. But most movies are white movies. Most TV shows are white TV shows. We don't call them white. They become normative, yeah? Or you go to the store and buy a cream for your hands, and it says, this is from normal to dark skin. From normal to dark skin.
So is something wrong with us?
Universal, the normative is what? White, yeah? Or you buy a Band-Aid, and it's called flesh tone. Whose flesh tone? My beautiful brown flesh tone is not there. It is the assumption that there is a normative, universal sense, and anything that deviates from the universal, i.e. white, becomes deviant. So you have normal, etc. Anyway, so in that project I then talk not just about these seemingly silly things. I talk about things like child abductions. So in the US, the stories on child abductions on TV, and we're talking about things that are important because people can, if a child is stolen and the story of a minority child is not presented on TV, the likelihood of that child to be discovered decreases, yeah? So in the presentation of the stories, also children of color who are very likely to be abducted are because they are not normative. And the producers of the show say the audience will not relate. Again, the grammatical field. The grammatical field of what is normative, what is allowed. What is viewed as universal, what is viewed as particular. Does that relate to Sweden?
Yeah, let's open up for some questions from the audience. I have more questions, but please.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I'm Josie from the National Touring Theatre. I have two questions. One is regarding the post-racial minority politician, and I'm wondering if you believe that there is a strategy, a consciousness behind these so-called post-racial politicians to more go for to go on an evolutionary path rather than a revolutionary path when it comes to get to power. So Obama has made it as a conscious choice to not be the revolutionary Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton, and instead take these more strategic paths to get to power. And then the second question was, you were talking about the deportation, and I was wondering, those laws, aren't they more state-based rather than federal-based? So how much does Obama or the White House in general have?
The second one is easier. The deportation is a federal business.
Yeah.
Now, there is a discussion in the U.S. about states wanting to behave like the federal state. Okay, that is true. But the deportations are mandated and controlled by the federal government. The immigration service is controlled by the federal government. So the 400,000 is not that Arizona or Texas or North Carolina deport. It is a state. Okay, the first one is somewhat complicated, but I have to give you the sort of a little bit of the history of the U.S. The political parties in the U.S. are absolutely under the control of the elite. The bourgeoisie controls both parties. Segments of the bourgeoisie go and put money. Actually, both the more conservative segments of the bourgeoisie and the more liberal, they split the pay. If you look at campaign donations, some corporation may say, okay, I'm going to give 70% of my money to the Republicans. They still give 30% of their money to the Democrats. Why would you do that? Hedging your bets. You're always going to be connected to whoever wins. Okay? How does that connect to Obama? Obama was elected through that process. Therefore, the idea that, and I heard that during the 2A campaign, people tell me, Eduardo, he has to be quiet on race because his first task is get elected. Once he's elected, then he can be more radical. Well, now we have 4 years of data, and guess what? He wasn't. So in 2012, this last year, basically people have been telling me, well, he had to be strategic. He didn't do much in the first 4 years on the race front. But now, because he's outgoing and he doesn't have to be re-elected, now he's going to go radical on race.
Yeah, right.
I bet? Shall I do like Mitt Romney? I bet $10,000, which I have right here in my pocket, that in the next 4 years, Obama is not going to do much, not only on race, but on progressive politics. Again, if I ask American audiences, and I ask audiences in Europe, how much do we know about Obama as a person, as a politician, before 2-8? Let's be honest. Very little. Am I right? So we didn't do due diligence. This is not Jesse Jackson. This is not even Bill Clinton, which we had a sense. Yeah? With Obama, we knew nothing. So what we knew was what the media and his handlers wanted us to know. He became this miraculous figure, this black man, half white, half African, which actually helped him in the U.S., at least in 2008. Had he been, his father being a black man from the south side of Chicago, it would have terrified America. In the U.S., having an African parent is better than having an African-American parent. Now, later on that switch, yeah, that's part of the struggle of race in the U.S. Things are always mutating and changing. Yeah? So I